Do you know that you only need 3 weapons in order to finish Terraria Calamity Mod? I did this challenge a while ago, but honestly it was a pay to win run if I can say so, not to mention the fact that I abused the hell out of quality of life mods. Now, I decided to try this run again, but with 3 other weapons that actually don't require any money. Pre-hard mode, Depth Crusher, hard mode, Abyss Blade, endgame, Neptune's Bounty. But how will I even get the Depth Crusher? Is this challenge possible? This is the 3 weapons only rerun, this time only with swords from the depths of the abyss. Enjoy! Hello dear Terrarians, it's me, Phantasm as always. Welcome back to yet another challenge run on Calamity Mod, since it seems like I never get bored of trying new subclasses and challenges. I combined 3 runs of mine and ended up with 3 weapons only rerun, but the difference is that this time it's not a literally pay to win run, since I will be using swords. There were a lot of suggestions regarding this run, so I was like, you know what, let's finally give this a try. So I start this adventure by checking for pyramids and finding none, then finding a nice cave entrance with a chest that doesn't really have useful stuff for me. But as I go down, I find some better loot like a cloud in a bottle and a mushroom cave with life crystal, this being a sign of good luck according to my previous runs. Yeah, a maze definitely best luck. Again, I was playing with no weapons, so my only way of surviving was to block myself while navigating the caverns. Some gold mining later, I was able to craft a way better pickaxe as well as a lucky horseshoe. In a water chest, there it was. So you know what you have to do. Become a member today. Exploration continues with me finding even more life crystals, or flare guns, crafting some more armor pieces and an emerald hook, as well as the ancient fossil, an accessory that will help me fight poltergeists later. At some point the water color changed and it was the sunken seas color. Not only that, but I was really close to the Drayden laboratory, so of course that I have explored it and looted everything as always. There was an exposed chest and there it was, the Hermes boots, the accessory that I am always looking for. Other than reaching the jungle, there was nothing interesting to see, so I went back home and started placing some insta houses. This will be the base of operations for this run. I explored the surface a little more, getting my hands on an enchanted sword, definitely something not useful, but also finding the dungeon and noticing the blue color. That can mean only one thing, the shimmer is under the ocean on the left side. I also reached the sulfur seas, and after building some houses and a bridge, I decided to take a dive into the poisonous water and look for some chests, not really getting stuff that I wanted from the first 2 chests. However, it was the 3rd one that had the flipper potion, so there was no need to craft it. Yep, now I would have loved to defeat the Eye of Cthulhu this early, but do I have any weapons yet? I guess I will accept my fate. I decided to go back to that first cave with some Splunker potions and I kept on finding a lot of life crystals. Then at some point I have found this mushroom biome and I think now it would be the perfect time to talk about how am I going to get the Depth Crusher. Well, it is dropped by the Viper Fish in the Abyss, an enemy that deals a lot of damage and has a lot of HP. There is no way I can kill it with bare hands. However, there is a specific boss that can be defeated without any weapon or falling sand or minecart bombs, and it drops a specific item that helps me in many ways. Crabulon could be defeated in here and I could get a fungal clump to help me with some extra damage. If you are asking how I can defeat Crabulon, well, I can get him to take a warm bath in here. While he enjoys his warm bath, I just try to dodge the spawn projectiles, grabbing onto the rails and also having improved mobility from the feather fall effect. Well, I summoned Crabulon, got him to swim, but unfortunately the space in here was definitely not enough, so you know where this is going, right? Well, no problem, as I can continue my adventure and do some other side quests in the meantime before trying again. One would be to get infinite money using the infinite money glitch with the Architect NPC. As I was going towards the beach on the left side, I have noticed that I kinda became a weapon because of the Crow Carapace, so that was something to take into consideration. Next up, I made a elevator to find a shimmer, but I might have just missed the tunnel that leads to the entrance. I checked the map while saying what the helly, then I came back and yup, there it was, I knew it. The life crystal, the apple, all have been thrown in the shimmer for some good luck and permanent upgrades. Now, while I was in here, I also noticed something that I have never seen in my life, the Roxcalibur, and this changes some things, but not really in a way where I could get the Depth Crusher faster. While the Souls of Night were not the most useful right now, be sure that the Molten Bars were, since I got enough so I could craft a pickaxe. With it, I went straight to the other world and mined a lot of hellstone. Then I used the city buzzer and made a lot of space in here, as well as adding more rails to the arena. I got the Hellforge and that was it. I was able to craft a molten armor set, which was a far better upgrade than everything that I could have acquired at this stage. I got this message again, but the lion does not concern himself with evil presences, but rather with mushroom crabs that are oversized due to eating too many truffle worms. Probably I recreated the Calamity lore, but that's fine. What was also fine was the fact that Crabulon has been deep fried, so I was able to progress even more. I teleported back home and would you take a look at that. At first, I wanted to accept my fate again, then I was like, hey, I'm a weapon myself, I also have the fungal clump, how about I actually try to beat this guy weaponless? And do that, I did, with me getting adrenaline and automatically dealing more damage. What was annoying about the fungal clamp was that its speed was slow and it was going for any other enemy instead of focusing on the eye. But it's fine, since the swarm of enemies would have killed me anyways. Some more adrenaline there and there, some more Thorns potion later, I found myself dealing even more damage, eventually getting this guy killed as well, and this was great news because not only I was getting the Brewer and infinite buffs, but I was also getting the Shield of Cthulhu. With it, I could bump into the enemies, dealing even more damage and avoiding getting hit, which was perfect for what I was about to do next. I looked for a Viper fish and there it was. I was just a few bumps away from getting the first weapon from this run, the Root, the Depth Crusher, a weapon so good that I will use it to defeat even bosses like the Leviathan. Now that I had a weapon, I could continue with some events such as the Goblin Army, which didn't bring any problems with them, then with Florida Man and getting the Golden Fishing Rod, which will be a must in the early hard mode, then smashing some Shadow Orbs and eventually taking on the Eater of Worlds, forgetting that a good weapon doesn't mean that I will become immortal. I am still as vulnerable as before, maybe if I expand the arena, I will have some better results, right? Well, why don't you check the next montage where I fight not only the Eater of Worlds, but also the Hive Mind. Yeah, I got the evil bosses defeated and this means a lot of things. I looked for the goblin as the first thing to do, then I was able to use the Souls of Night acquired from Shimmering the Excalibur and craft the Bloody Worm Scarf, a melee accessory that will be used for a really long while. I still had to defeat the Eater of Worlds for one more Worm Scarf. Then, while being in a graveyard, I was able to turn the Worm Scarf into a Brain of Confusion, and then finally craft the Amalgamated Brain, which is a top tier, must-have accessory in every run due to how good it is. I think it's time to start yet another boss rush. Enjoy! Yep, it was coming all together for this part of the game. I went to the floating islands to mine some aerialite ore, then I was able to craft the Terra Spark boots, as well as the bundle of horseshoe balloons, so now I have an incredibly good hard mode loadout if I can say so. Before I would continue with the last activity, I would be as Romanian as possible and take everything from here. Then I would place an insta bridge right here, and yeah, I was getting closer and closer to summoning the Wall of Flesh and ending this first chapter, which was the reason for why I didn't try this challenge before. I got the buffs that I have been missing for a while, then headed to the underworld and summoned the Wall of Mexico, hoping for a quick victory, which instead turned into me overthinking if this challenge will be possible. There we go, the Wall of Flesh has been defeated and that means a lot of things. It's time to move on to probably the hardest activity from this run. Fishing, you guessed it. In this run, fishing is mandatory, considering that I really need a good armor set that will help a lot during the next fight. I was thinking of using the frost armor first, then I was like meh, not only it takes ages to acquire all these bars, but the mithril armor set might happen to be better, especially when a certain boss spawns certain servants. I kept on fishing for a pretty long while, shimmering the adamantite so I could get my hands on more mithril, then I finally got to craft the mithril armor set. Next up was terraforming, then making an arena out the ocean, but why? You see, there was no way of me doing the mechanical bosses with the depth crusher, so I could get nothing important afterwards. I wanted to prepare as much as possible right now, so I could go straight for the Leviathan, an activity that has been done before in my previous runs. This was going to take ages, and it would only remind me of the Supernova Components only run, where I have defeated the Leviathan with a sea foam bomb and Molotov cocktails, both early hard mode weapons. See the analogy already? The depth crusher is also an early hard mode weapon, but this one at least has some homing features, so it might not be that bad, you know? It was. It truly was. I was like, why not get some extra help from some waifus? These are not weapons and there is no restriction regarding using this, so why not get it? And get it, I did, on my first time I might want to add, since the last time I had to fight this elemental it took ages for it to drop the specific item. I went to the desert and the same thing happened in here. I got a bit lucky, not going to lie. I continued with fighting the Siren and I could notice a really small difference, but it was the Leviathan where having the waifus really made a huge difference. Unfortunately, this fight gets harder as I progress, so it would only take an Akita to come back and start fighting me along the Leviathan for me to accept my fate and die. Just so you know, accepting my fate actually meant smashing the table at almost full force, and my hand kinda hurt after dying for yet another time. It was really annoying to spend 10 to 12 minutes to die afterwards, but fortunately this was the last fail. Enjoy the full sped up fight against the bosses that bring a really big change in this run. One last adrenaline charge to end it all. There we go. It was finally over, the Leviathan has been defeated and a lot of things are happening in the Abyss. Well, not really, it's just me killing regular enemies that drop the depth cells and some void stone. These are needed so I can finally craft the Abyss Blade, the second weapon to be used in this run, a way better version of the Depth Crusher, a weapon so well balanced that it can defeat Poltergeist and Reaper Sharks, but I will get there as well. I still lacked some extra depth cells, so I went back to the Abyss, got them, got back home and crafted the Bar Claw, yet another underrated accessory that will be used for a long while. My loadout was really cool, but I was missing the insanely good mobility that can be fit with only a single item available at this very point of the game. How about I try to defeat Duke Fishron as well and end with this ocean boss killing session? Let's just say I really miss killing Duke Fishron before the mechanical bosses. I didn't get the wings from the first bag, so I bought some more from the operator and got the fish on wings, and with them in my loadout, I was ready to start the boss rush. Enjoy! The mechanical bosses have been defeated, so it's upgrade season. The upgrades in cost, a brand new pickaxe and a mechanical glove, and yeah, that's it. Maybe I can get even more stuff by mining some chlorophyte in the jungle? Who am I lying to? I am going straight for Plantera. Just like that, I got past the first half of this run. Now let's mine some plenty mush so I can craft a lot of life roots, as well as the blood orange for an overdose. Then continue with even more killing, but for some side quests that will bring some useful items in the late game. The Desert Scourge goes down in a few swings, the Giant Clam takes a bit longer but it goes down as well, followed by the Aquatic Scourge, which was really easy and I definitely didn't take any single hit while fighting it. A pro gamer, I might say, king of Terraria Calamity, definitely not washed or long gone. The adventure continues with me taking on Golem. Golem down. Now I can get the Destroyer emblem and then go deep in the abyss and start mining some Scoria ore and die in the process. Then I can continue with yet another side quest such as defeating Cryogen with ease, crafting the Fire Gauntlet, looking for some Cryonic ore but stumbling upon the Frozen Draden Laboratory, which was a place that I wanted to visit anyways, then also mining the Cryonic ore mentioned before. The same applies to Perennial and the Inferno Suivit needed for way later. Then I tried Ostrom Aureus and definitely defeated him without any trouble. I'm joking, but this is yet another boss rush. Enjoy! Yet another bosses have been defeated while I was using the ancient fossil. Now, why not use it in order to mine even more scoria or for something super incredibly never seen before thing? I actually need to get some ectoplasm before I could craft that specific something super incredibly never seen thing before. Yep, to no one's surprise, it was actually something seen before, the hydrothermic armor set, which is the best one to acquire before the Moonlord. Well, I guess this wraps it all for the hard mode stage. It's time to take on the lunatic cultists, the pillars, and then finally the Moonlord. Enjoy the vanilla finale. Moonlord shaking, I knew that 2/3 of this challenge has been complete, and fortunately it was the harder part of this run. I open the treasure bag and eat the celestial onion, getting one extra accessory slot, then I go up to the skies and start mining all the luminite from here since I need a lot of it for the brand new solar flare armor set, and that's kinda it. I didn't really know what to craft, so I crafted the absorber considering that it will help against the next fight that will be tough, and I don't mean this fight. Ostrom Deus was totally fine and I did it just because I wanted more fragments, and get them, I did. Also crafted the Asgard's Valor, then I moved in the dungeon air hive, removing any extra shelves so this won't come in my way when fighting the next boss. After that, it was just killing some enemies there and there, and that was it. It was the time for yet another boss that brings a lot of changes once defeated. Enjoy the poltergeist fight. Finally, I was a few clicks away from getting the final weapon for this run. I got back home and would you take a look at that, I used the ancient fossil to defeat Poltergeist. Classic Phantasm. It was the time to venture down to the deepest points of this place, fighting Reaper sharks and hoping that I will not run out of air while doing this. This took a really long while to be killed, but in the end, there it was. One Reaper shark defeated and I was just a few clicks away from getting the Neptune's bounty, the third and final weapon to be acquired in this run, a sword to be used to finish this run once and for all. Look at this beauty. I still had to kill a few more Reaper sharks, but with this sword in my hands, this was far better and didn't take a lot of time anymore. The Omega Blue armor is finally mine, and that means only one thing. It's time for yet another boss rush. Providence defeated was the same as Cryogen defeated, with me looking for a specific ore but finding a Drayden laboratory instead. I wasn't complaining at all, since I could also start working on the computer. With the Willy Bloom that I got, I was able to craft yet another fruit, as well as a brand new pickaxe. Then I also got some more armor sets that will be necessary later. Other than that, it was the time for the fight that I was waiting for. Easy, the Devourer of Gods has been defeated, so from now on it's just yet another regular run of mine where I use only this sword. I think you already know the drill. Do the events, craft the Asgardian Aegis, Elemental Gauntlet, Elysian Tracers, the armor set, as well as the Amalgam, which is an incredible accessory. After that, it would be reforging, getting full menacing as always because offense is the best, and fighting Yaron and definitely winning, right? Yeah, I don't think there is anything else to mention for now. Enjoy! I kinda messed up, kinda didn't, I don't know what I did, but I did type shit. There we go, Yaron taken down. I embark on that AP gamer mining session where I get knocked the hell away while mining some Auricore. Then I wait around 90% of the time spent on this run for the Tinkerer to spawn so I can buy some accessories needed for the Deific Amulet, which can be turned into the Rampart of Deities along with the Frozen Shield. Some more bridges later, I was ready to fight the Exomex. Enjoy! Yet another boss defeated, getting closer and closer to finishing this run once and for all. Let's wrap this up with one final fight. Yep, with Supreme Calamity being defeated, I know that yet another challenge run has been complete, and this one was such a mess and really fun at the same time. While it really sucked in the early days before getting the Depth Crusher and the Abyss Blade, it was really easy after I got my hands on the Neptune's Bounty. There you have it, Neptune's Bounty components only, free weapons only without pay to win, swords only, Abyss weapons only, water themed weapons only, melee only, and so on. You call it however you want after all. This took 8 hours to record, and this is the mods that I have been using, which will also be included in the description. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave comments regarding suggestions for future runs, or even become a member. Also, thanks to everyone for being so cool and subscribing to my channel so far, getting me up to 100k subscribers. This is an incredibly important milestone for me, something that I only dreamt of. You are all amazing, much love. Your host, as always, Phantasm. I will see you in the next one. Peace.